Here is sign number 6 from John chapter 9, verses 1 through 12. And this is what John 9, 1 through 12 says. It says, "As he, Jesus, passed by, he saw a blind man from birth, and his disciples asked him, 'Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he would be born blind?' Jesus answered, 'It was neither that this man sinned nor his parents, but it was so that the works of God might be displayed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me as long as it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world.' When he had said this, he spat on the ground, made clay of the spittle, and applied the clay to his eyes, and said to him, 'Go, wash in the pool of Siloam,' which is translated sent. So he went away and washed and came back seeing. Therefore the neighbors and those who had previously saw him as a beggar were saying, 'Is not this the one who used to sit and beg?' And others were saying, 'No, this is he.' Still others were saying, 'No, but he is like him.' And he kept on saying to them, 'I am that one. I am the person.' So they were saying to him, 'How then were your eyes open?' And he answered, 'The man who is called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes, and said to me, Go to Siloam and wash. So I went away and washed, and I received sight.' And they said to him, 'Where is he?' And he said, 'I do not know.'" So that's John chapter 9, verses 1 through 12. It's a compelling sign. It's a really interesting story. It's an interesting scene in Jesus' life because of the lack of belief that just runs all the way through it, right? Here's what happens first of all. You see the apostles, the disciples at this point, they're struggling, they're wrestling with a question. As they're walking by, they've always heard that sin or any kind of physical ailment is a punishment for sin, right? If I'm blind, it's a punishment for sin. If I'm mute, it's a punishment for sin. If I walk with a limp, that's a punishment for sin. Or what if I'm poor? Punishment for sin. All of these things, punishments for sin. And so they walk by, and maybe they passed a couple of people that were blind since the day that they were born, or maybe just blind recently, and they begin to ask the question, "Oh, well, that man was blind. Wonder why?" Well, he was probably blind because his parents did something. He's probably blind because he did something. And they get in this dispute with each other. You kind of get the sense of trouble happening with Simon Peter and James and John, Thomas, all of these guys. And so finally they come to Jesus and they say, "Jesus, there's a man over there that's been blind since the day that he was born." Now, Simon says that he was blind because of something he did, right? Or maybe because God looked at him with knowledge, foreknowledge of his actions, and said, "Oh, since I know that man is going to sin with his eyes, I'll take his sight away. That way he won't sin with his eyes." So his blindness is a punishment for his sin. But John over here on the other side of the debate, he says, no, no, no. This was something that his parents did, and as punishment for them, for their sin, this man was born blind. They had a child that was born blind, and that's a matter of shame and inconvenience even, and all of this. And so they begin to debate. I hope and pray that the poor blind man didn't hear their debate. Was it your fault, or was it somebody else's fault? Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible what we do sometimes to hurt people. Well, that's what they did. And they came to Jesus and they said, "Jesus, who sinned? Was it him or was it his parents?" And Jesus said, "Well, you don't understand the question. You don't understand what exactly is going on here. Here's exactly what they say. They say, 'Rabbi, who sinned, the man or his parents, that he would be born blind?' And Jesus answered, 'It was neither. Neither that this man sinned nor his parents, but it was so that the works of God might be displayed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me as long as it is day. Night is coming when no one can work." All right, so just take this one phrase to heart. It was neither this man that sinned nor his parents, but he's blind so that God's work might be displayed in him. And what I love about this whole scene is that the story could end right there. That's a miracle right there. At that point, the man no longer wonders if this is a punishment, or if God just forgot about me, or if God was dead in the first place, or if God likes me and is protecting me, or what. That's not the instance. No, he found out that his circumstances, his blindness, for instance, his circumstances are for the glory of God. God said, "I created you this way." Christ himself. God created you, and who's the creating word? It's Christ. So I created you this way so that God's glory would shine in you. I mean, what is your excuse for not showing God's glory? That's the question, right? What holds me back from saying I am fearfully and wonderfully made? Is it my sin? Is it punishment for my sin? What is it that I think is getting in God's way? And what Christ is doing right here is he's saying the thing that you think is actually separating you or is as a result of separation from God, that thing is actually what I'm going to use to show glory. And at that point, the story could end, right? This man doesn't need his sight to be glorious for God. But even more abundantly and beyond, Christ, the next thing happened. Christ heals him. He actually heals him in a unique way. And remember the theme of water and the theme of light. Both of those themes run through the book of John. So what Jesus does is he looks down to the ground, he spits on the ground, he makes mud out of that spit, he washes the man's eyes, and then he tells him to go and wash himself off, wash the spit off of his face. And then when he comes back, he's seeing. And by the way, that's a really interesting thing. You see, look at what happens. Verse 7 says, Jesus said to this man, go wash at the pool of Siloam, which is translated since. So he went away and he washed, and he came back seeing. That's a miraculous thing as well, right? See, sometimes when we experience a miracle, when we experience a connection with God, we keep going our own way. This man, he decided to turn back and come back and see Jesus, to come back and actually see Jesus. Wow. Wow. So all of that happens, and still people are wondering, what's the story? Why did this happen? Some people say he looks like this guy that used to be blind. Some say he doesn't look like the guy. And the man just continues with his testimony. This is an important part of his testimony. His testimony is, this is where I was. In fact, later on in the text, we will see this. We'll see him say, all I know is that I was blind, but now I see. And right now he's addressing the crowd, the neighbors, the people that are around him. And he's saying, all I know is that I am actually the person that was blind. He's bragging on the fact that he used to be blind. Wow. Once again, this is God working in this man. You can see now, but regardless of your sight, you are free. And you're going to show God's glory because of the way that you're created. How amazing. How amazing is that? All of this happens in John chapter 9, verses 1 through 12. And of course, the rest of the story is really great as well. I'd encourage you to read the rest of John chapter 9. Really good stuff. The miraculous signs of Christ Jesus in the book of John. God bless. Have a great day.